My name is Angelique Grant, and I vote my voice because 151 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to because of the color of my skin. I vote not only for my voice, but for the voice of my ancestors.
Hola mi gente hispana, latina, soy estudiante de Houston Community College. Mi nombre es Werner, soy salvadoreño. Elecciones 2020, les hago un llamado a todos ustedes que por favor regístrense y voten. Voten por todos nosotros los latinos hispanos que no tenemos ese privilegio de registrarse y votar. Alcemos nuestra voz, que nuestra voz sea escuchada como latino, como hispano. Por favor, no se olviden también de llenar el censo 2020. Muchísimas gracias. Dios los bendiga.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barrington Howard Davis. I am a senior at Howard University in Washington, D.C. I just came here to say that the time is now to vote. In 2016, 225 million Americans were eligible. Only 138 million voted. Those numbers have to change. We have to voice our opinions, and we have to say what we want. Please, get to those polls and vote. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Callie Pickens and I'm a junior here at Texas Southern. I'm making this video to encourage all students to please vote in this upcoming election. Thank you and go Tigers.
I vote because I dream of a country where the American dream is available for men and women of all races.
What's up, world? This is your boy Inheritance by Jay. Just got done my afternoon bike ride. Just stopping by to let you guys know I vote my voice to make sure that my ideologies are being heard. I truly encourage everyone else to do the same.
Hello everyone, my name is Erin Haven. I'm a senior at Prairie View A&M University, and I am also a volunteer for the Poor People's Campaign. I think it's important for us to vote because it's our voice. We have to make sure we vote on time and vote early and get registered. It's your voice and your vote.
Good evening, my name is Jade Jones and I'm a student at Lone Star North Harris. I'm voicing my vote because I recently found out that approximately 76.2 million Americans don't vote due to lack of representation. However, in order to get the representation we all want and need, we must take the initiative to vote. So please, I highly recommend that you visit the polls or at the very least, participate in mail-in ballots. Thank you.
I vote my voice because as a younger generation, we are the future. Thank you.
Hello, I am Maya Bailey, a freshman at Xavier University of Louisiana, and I vote my voice in order to support my community and to exercise my right to do so.
The Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority takes the safety of all participants of today's meeting very seriously. In an emergency such as a fire, our emergency response team, Bridget Nevels, will provide evacuation directions. For this building, the emergency evacuation exits are located in the back. Should inclement weather approach, such as a tornado or any other reason to take shelter, everyone will be asked to move to the designated safe shelter areas that are away from doors and windows. The emergency response team will monitor the weather conditions and advise as conditions change. Thank you in advance for your attention and cooperation. And now I introduce to you our Madam President of the Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Good evening. I am Dr. Andrea Hilburn, President of the Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. At this time, I would like to welcome you to the Candidates Forum hosted by the Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated Social Action Committee, chaired by Judge Valencia Nash McShann and Subcommittee Chair Dr. Lavetta Levels, in collaboration and co-sponsored by Friendship West Baptist Church, Reverend Danielle Ayers of Justice Ministry, and the Reverend Dr. Frederick D. Haynes III, Senior Pastor. We have gathered today to gain a wealth of information from the candidates of the 30th Congressional District, Texas Governor, Texas Attorney General, to inform and impact. Serving as moderator is journalist Vincent Hall, Judge Valencia Nash McShann, and Minister Danielle Ayers. Please be advised that the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated neither endorses any political candidate or affiliates with any political party. Delta Sigma Theta is a nonpartisan organization that aims to ensure our community is politically aware and encourage our community to be engaged and involved in every election, being informed in local, state, and national politics. We are grateful that you have joined us this evening. Take notes and become knowledgeable about the issues and the candidates. Thank you and enjoy the evening.
Good afternoon. On behalf of our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, we extend greetings to you all who are here physically with us in the building today, and especially those of you who are viewing virtually for this important candidates forum. Shall we go to God in prayer? God of all creation, we are grateful for this opportunity to gather physically and even virtually for an important time for us to learn about platforms of those who seek to serve in office and those who seek to serve our interests, that our communities may have access to life-giving, life-sustaining resources. So we bless our time together. May the dialogue, the exchange be fruitful. May it be informative so that we can go out and share this information with others so we can make informed decisions at the polls. Bless now our time together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Minister Ayers, for that. Welcome to this political forum brought to you by the Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and Friendship West Baptist Church, the Social Justice Ministry. This forum is aimed at getting to know candidates and assisting at becoming an informed voter. I would like to thank pastor of this church, my pastor, Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, for allowing this forum to commence in the midst of, unfortunately, the growing pandemic. I want to thank Minister Danielle Ayers, the associate pastor of the Social Justice Ministry, who partnered to make this day happen for us. Minister Ayers is also going to be the moderator for the candidates who are present in the governor's race. Last, a special thanks to Vincent Hall, who is also a member of our church and very active in so many ministries here as well. Vincent will be moderating the race involving the congressional candidates for District 30. He also knows how to sing. We would also like to welcome all elected officials who are here and present. And because of the sake of time, we're not going to be able to introduce everyone, but I will ask at this time for all elected officials to please stand if you're here in the audience. Thank you so much for coming out on this beautiful day. Additionally, we have our Zoom Red Room open to our VIP sorors who are including our past presidents, local and regional and national leadership, and our hardworking social action sorors of Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. So let's give them a hand in the Zoom Red Room. For my Marvel fans out there, with great power comes great responsibility. So we know that these races are the top races in the state of Texas, and we want to make sure that we inform you. So let's jump right into it. And without further ado, I'm going to invite Lee Merritt to the stage. We did, in fact, invite all candidates that were on the Texas Secretary of State's website. We did so by going to the Texas Secretary of State, getting the contact information, and sending an email to each candidate who was listed in the Texas Attorney General race, the District Congressional 30 race, and also for governor. So unfortunately, time is of the essence. We were not able to capture all of the races. We know they're equally important, but we wanted to focus on these races. The other candidate that was going to be here unfortunately had a conflict of interest, but we're so glad to have Attorney Lee Merritt, who is present, and we thank you for your time today. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. Attorney Merritt, if you want to just kind of tell the audience in 2 minutes a little bit about yourself. We know you have so many different cases and have worked on so many important things, but tell the audience who you are.
This is on. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, family. I know that it is game day, and in tradition of the minister of this house, Pastor Haynes, I went ahead and wore my jersey. The jersey is demonstrative because I'm wearing Dak Prescott's number 4, and I will appear as the number 4, the 4th candidate on the ballot for Texas Attorney General. So if you want to know what position you can find me in, I will be in Dak Prescott's position. Ironically, Democrats have not won statewide for the Attorney General position since the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. I believe that this is our year. My name is Lee Merritt. I'm a constitutional attorney. I represent families across the country and across the state of Texas concerning issues of racial discrimination, civil rights violations, and other forms of oppression. This is my home right here in the North Texas area. I have represented families for the past decade, and I've enjoyed the support of this community. I've expanded my practice from representing individuals on a one-by-one basis to advocating for entire communities, bringing families before not only the White House, but the United States Senate. We successfully argued a case recently before the United Nations, receiving a conclusion from the UN that our country is engaged in a slow-moving genocide. I believe that we have the ability right here in Texas to begin to stop that process, and it starts with the Attorney General's office. I look forward to telling you all more about that during this presentation.
Thank you, Attorney Merritt. And again, we're going to get right into it. If you're elected as the next Attorney General, what are going to be your top 3 priorities?
You know, as a former educator, I am concerned about what is going on in the state of Texas concerning politicizing our classrooms. Our current Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has sued dozens of school districts so that our leaders on the school board, principals, can't make simple decisions concerning safety protocols. The CDC has given us guidelines about how to stop the spread of the pandemic. It should be the role of the Attorney General's office of preventing that spread and saving Texas lives. He's decided to politicize that concern, and he's doing the opposite. You know, as a former recruiter with Dallas ISD and as someone who has taught in the classroom, I will go out of our way not only to ensure local control over issues concerning mask mandates, but with this whole CRT scam that the Republican parties are using to disrupt our classroom and our learning environment, I will go out of my way to end that so that our teachers and our educators and the professionals can make sure our students are getting the information that they need. In order to get any of this accomplished, we're going to have to protect the vote in Texas. Texas is uniquely situated to begin to disrupt access to the polls for not only for voters of colors, but for individuals with disabilities. And we're going out of our way to redistrict our state in such a way to nullify the 4 million new Texans who have arrived, 95% of whom are people of color. We've gone out of our way to disenfranchise that group by drawing the lines in the state of Texas in such a way that to dilute the power of that vote. And it's the responsibility of the Attorney General's office to protect that vote. Roe v. Wade is under attack. A woman's right to make personal decisions concerning her own physical health, her reproductive rights, has been well decided with over 30 years of case precedent in the United States Supreme Court. The 87th legislature, with the passage of SB 8, has decided that they trump the United States court, and that's simply not true. I see I'm out of time, so I'll stop there.
That's all right. Absolutely. We know attorneys have a lot to say, so definitely. But just getting back into this, you know, the Texas Attorney General now has 2 days to respond to the January 6th insurrection, some documents. What do you think about that?
I think it highlights how far the Texas Attorney General's office has gone to run afoul of the Constitution. The Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, was present on January 6th in Washington, D.C. He, in fact, gave the charge to a group of insurrectionists who stormed the nation's capital and attempted to overturn the results of a free and fair election. And now, although he did that on taxpayer dollars, on Texas taxpayer dollars, on you and my dime, He refuses to turn over or to acknowledge the fact that the law requires that he turn over his correspondence there. That emphasizes the corruption that exists within his office and within the Texas government that has gone unchecked. It's the responsibility of the Attorney General, and under my leadership, we're going to return integrity to the Office of Attorney General and prosecute not only people like Ken Paxton, but scores of individuals who have gotten away with corruption from within the office.
Thank you, Attorney Merritt. You know, the office has a lot of responsibilities, a lot of different offices. Now, in our community, child support is a big deal. And we know that one of the duties of the Texas Attorney General is child support enforcement. What are you going to do differently? What are you going to do about the functions of the Office of the Attorney General as it relates to child support and the local offices that used to exist around Dallas County?
Right now, Texas leads the nation in incarceration concerning child support. Our over-reliance on incarcerating individuals who fail to pay their child support does a double disservice. Number one, it doesn't allow families access, children access to parents who fail to pay because they're incarcerated. But more importantly, the goal is to get those resources into the home. You're not going to do that if the individual who fails to pay is incarcerated. This is a touch opportunity. It's one of the few times that our government comes directly in contact with Texas families, and it's an opportunity to provide job training, conflict resolution, parenting training, and we can rely more heavily on serious civil remedies to discover if there's funds being hidden or to begin to collect child support. But as you mentioned, we've begun to shut down some of the offices that create a direct connection between the Attorney General's office and the community. I plan to reinstitute those offices, staffing those offices with individuals who are from the communities, can identify with the culture there, and begin to reestablish relationships between the parenting community and the Attorney General's office. We should not rely so heavily on our punitive system in dealing with child support. It's important that we collect, but this is an opportunity to build rather than destroy.
Thank you. Thank you for that. What do you think about educating and protecting Texans from fraud and cyber attacks and scams? There's a lot of that going on, especially with our senior citizen population. What are some of the things that you could do to help with this?
One of the number one roles of the Attorney General's office is consumer protections. And not only were we being scammed through the cyber community, but there was a report recently called, and it dealt with the Dallas area in particular, banking below 30. Money is simply, so the Community Revitalization Act set aside funds for businesses and for communities and opportunities for them to reinvest and rebuild their communities. But those loans are not being released into the community. Instead, they're being shifted off to banks who are building low-income housing with those funds and creating concentrations of poverty. That money belongs to our communities to re-empower it, and it's the responsibility of the Attorney General to enforce the regulations that already exist, but there's no one there to enforce it. The regulators are asleep at the wheel, and the Attorney General's office has a regulation department that is not doing the job right here in Dallas of ensuring that loans are flowing free below 30, and that's something that I will take on as a high priority, the economic empowerment of our community and access to those resources to build for ourselves.
Okay. I have 5 more minutes. All right. My timekeepers are on it. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about sex trafficking. I think it's a big deal and a real issue here in Dallas. We don't hear a lot about it. But what, if elected, what would you do differently, and what do you think a resolution for this is?
This is another key area that the current Attorney General is failing the community of Texas. Texas is becoming a major sex trafficking hub between here and the Texas border. Instead of relying on proven strategies to prevent sex trafficking, we've taken our public safety resources and diverted them to culture wars at our border because Republicans have learned that it's popular to imply that there's an annual invasion of our state of migrants who want to rape, pillage, and plunder. The fact is that's not true, and more importantly, spending billions of dollars on a border wall won't improve that. However, if we invest in smart walls like some of our neighbors have, smart walls being drones and other electronic walls or cyber protections, we can actually identify where people are crossing illegally. We can identify where sex trafficking is occurring using digital software that in fact works and can prevent this from happening, can track the criminals and dispatch our state troopers who are already overextended to those locations. in order to prevent sex trafficking in Texas.
All right. And in your closing, Attorney Merritt, again, this is a really tight forum today. What do you want the people to know?
For years, right here from Friendship West, I have advocated on behalf of Texans. I can recall in September of 2018, 2 unarmed black men were killed within the same week, one named Botham Shem John, another named O'Shea Terry. And this community gathered around to demand accountability and justice. And we were able to see some successful results with those officers being indicted. However, the dominoes continued to fall. We saw incidents of Jordan Edwards, recently a Tatiana Jefferson, Marvin Scott III, in so many cases. And I've been the person, the baby catcher in the stream. And so I tell a story of a man who saw a baby in the river, who hopped in the river to pull the baby out and return it to the mother who was standing on the side of the shore. And he did this once, 2, 3, 4, 5 times before he finally began to ask, who's throwing all our babies in the river? I'm asking you all to send me a little further up the river to the Attorney General's office. I'm not asking you all to believe that I'm going to do anything that I haven't proven that I will do. As the people's lawyer at a local level, I've served as the people's lawyer for North Texas, for the state of Texas, and all throughout the country. I'm asking you to put me in a position so that we can identify who's throwing all our babies in the river in the Attorney General's office, and we can get it fixed once and for all.
Thank you so much, Attorney Merritt. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Go Cowboys.
Now, we're going to go on to our next race and transition. I was so excited that I forgot to give you the housekeeping rules, so let me make sure I do that. Of course, this is not a debate. Each candidate will be given equal time to present his or her views on the issues. Attorney Merritt was the only candidate in this particular race, but in our other races, we may have 2 or more candidates. The timekeeper will give you a 30-second warning and ring the bell at the end of the allotted time. Our timekeeper is seated here in the middle. Thank you, Ben. And no candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time, and the moderator will ask the candidate to be seated and/or state time to prompt the candidate to discontinue comments. The moderator will pose as many questions as they can. Mine was 5 or fewer, but it depends on the number of candidates here for that particular race. The moderator will have the final discretion in all matters. The conversation will be kept balanced. The same question will be asked of each candidate. The moderator will rule out of order any candidate who unreasonably attempts to use the question period as a platform for expressing a point of view on any issue. So those are the rules of engagement for today. All right, up next, we will have Vincent Hall. We'll start with our candidates for Congressional 30. So if you are a candidate, if you will please come and take your mic. Hold on, okay. Let him transition. All right.
I don't know much about TV, but I know you can't have a lot of dead space. So let's thank Judge Nash for her great work, what we've done so far. I wanted to stage this correctly because according to our plan, we were expecting 2 sets of 6 candidates for the 30th. And if you all don't mind, I'd like to know how many people we have. If we have more than 6, then I want to do it in 2 separate ones, but it's going to be done in alphabetical order. So have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So let's do 2 sets of 4. Let me start off with, because we've got the names in order. If somebody's not here when I call the name, just the next person will come up. So the first one is Kelvin Castillo. Okay. Representative Jasmine Crockett. Elizabeth Diaz. Okay. Arthur Dixon. Jane Hope Hamilton. James Harris. Okay. If you come up. And let's see, I'm going to do one more, and then the last one will catch everybody, I think. So the next person is going to be DeKenya Jefferson. No, DeKenya Jefferson, okay. Dr. Keisha Langford. Okay. Yes, ma'am? I'm sorry, you'll be in the next group. How many people do I have now for the next group? Yes, she sure did. Come on up, Miss Councilwoman Hill. My bad. Yeah, you too. It's okay. We got room for 5. Now, how many do we have left now? 3? Okay. All right. All right. Well, let me tell you how this is going to go. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a 2-minute introduction, kind of give us your political platform. Yeah, that's good. That'll work. You're good. That's good. She's good. That's good. Okay. We'll start off with getting some information about what your platform is and kind of a general introduction, because this is a race with a lot of people and a lot of us don't know everybody. So let's start with the front of the table, and then we'll go down and come back.
I think I'm okay, perfect. I am Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. Prior to joining the Texas House, I worked as an attorney, the majority of the time practicing civil rights law, criminal defense work, as well as some personal injury. I am in my freshman term. I took over for the Honorable Eric Johnson, who serves as the mayor for the city of Dallas. I represent the 100th district. As many of you saw this session, there were a ridiculous number of bad bills that came through. It was something that I could never get acclimated to, was the abuse that we felt down at the Texas House. That abuse kind of came to a fever pitch when they decided to specifically go after our democracy directly. I was one of a few people that was instrumental in making sure that we actually broke quorum. Breaking quorum at that time was more so just about killing the bill in that moment, but I had no idea that these types of laws were actually blazing through all of the states, the southern states specifically, these voter suppression bills. And so we were able to raise the consciousness in this country and the awareness on something such as our democracy. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act had been sitting for 8 years in the U.S. House. It had not moved. And once we were actually out of the Texas House and we went to D.C., there was movement on that bill. There's so many other things that I could say, but long story short, I am the person who fights for equity. That is what I've done for a very long time. And so that means equity when it comes to economic opportunities, equity when it comes to policing, housing, jobs, and definitely criminal justice. That is what my record reveals. I have filed almost 200 bills, and my time is up.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Judge Hill.
My name is Von Seal Jones Hill. I am a lawyer and a minister. I am a known quantity in this community. I served as a full-time Dallas municipal judge for 17 years. I served as a councilwoman for the maximum amount of time of 8 years. I have served as an associate pastor at St. Luke Community United Methodist Church under the Reverend Dr. Zan Wesley Holmes Jr., my father in the ministry, and I now serve as the senior pastor of an African Methodist Episcopal Church. I am running for this seat because God has given me tremendous gifts and graces, and the way that I believe that I best use those gifts and graces is through elected office. You have seen me as a seasoned elected official. As a councilwoman, I have a validatable track record of bringing resources to this city, this community, this region. My wheelhouse is transportation, but my issues are larger. My issues are voting rights, jobs, health care, and education. I marched in the 60s for voting rights. I am tired of what I see going on now because I was not counting on Jim Crow 2 when I nearly got thrown out of the University of Texas at Austin because I marched. I'm Von Seal Jones Hill. I am asking for your support, your prayers, your vote. I thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Jane Hope Hamilton.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to the hosts. My name is Jane Hope Hamilton, and for over 20 years, I have been fighting for our jobs, for affordable health care, for criminal justice reform, and for our voting rights. You may not know my name, but you know my work. I have sued the governor of Texas twice and won to protect our voting rights. In 2006, I served as the campaign manager when we turned Dallas County from Republican to Democrat. And y'all remember that because we elected, all of us together, the first African American district attorney in the state of Texas. Years later, when I served as chief of staff in Congress, American Airlines, during an economic downturn, was going to lay off 25,000 North Texas workers. We went to the steps of the Capitol with my union brothers and sisters, and we demanded that those jobs were saved, and thankfully they were. Most recently, when Democrats seemed divided, like we could not get around a candidate to beat Donald Trump, I was called on to serve as the statewide director for President Joe Biden. And I'm happy to say, as you all know, he clinched the nomination, and we, most importantly, defeated Donald Trump. I am the only candidate in this race who has worked in Congress. I have worked on the U.S. House Committee, the U.S. House Rules Committee. That is the last stop before any bill can hit the House floor. I have worked in the Democratic caucus, but I also have personal experiences, lived experience. I am a victim of police brutality. I was once a single mother, so I fight for criminal justice reform. I fight for police reform, affordable child care, and housing. These are issues that matter to Congressional District 30. These are issues that matter to me. And if elected, when elected, as your next member of Congress, I promise I will deliver results.
Okay. All right. Dr. Keisha Langford.
Good afternoon. All praises to God. This is my creator. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here. I am Dr. Keisha Williams Langford, a Dallas native. I grew up in this city that we're trying to represent. I only left the city for one reason, and that was to get an education and come back and serve my community. And when I returned, I started out with the juvenile department because I was determined to help our youth help themselves. But I found, as becoming an advocate for youth, that we cannot help our youth if we can't help the families. So what I did was I started out as a juvenile probation officer and then began to work up the streams with DISD, in which I'm a graduate of. I went back to my alma mater to become a a criminal justice instructor. From there, I worked as a sociology professor at Mountain View College. Over 21 years of experience, I devoted my time to serving and advocating for the children in Cedar Hill ISD. Started a nonprofit 24 years ago, helping youth help themselves. Have a counseling agency now to help people that have fallen through the cracks of the system that we so consistently allow to happen. And so now I'm helping not only my community that I live in, but I have the unique opportunity to come back to the area in which I was raised. And I'm so passionate about it, I cannot expect anyone to do this more than I will do it. I can't expect anybody to go in and know those areas of despair and help them. And in turn, that would help with crime, safety, police reform, school reform, all of the things that we so desperately need. But I need us to help me help us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now we'll hear from Mr. James Harris.
Thank you very much. Recognizing our leader and this church and this group who putting on this forum. Yes, I'm J. Frank Harris. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I've lived here all of my life. I've member, graduated from Booker T. Washington High School and got my college degree here at Austin College. I have been employed in the community diversion programs. I was a caseworker for the homeless, psychologically challenged. I was director in a school and certified juvenile probation officer until I became an administrator at the Dallas County Juvenile Department as well. I've worked in many campaigns, including John Price's. I was staff person for Steve Bartlett. I was campaign manager twice for Charlotte Mays. I went on to become the chairman of the Martin Luther King Family Clinic, elder and clerk of session. I initiated the Save the Name Booker T. Washington, where we still have it for the arts, the arts magnet now. And I put on many community festivals that are continuing and are annual in the Washington Street, Roseland area. My priorities are what the people in the community are talking about that need addressing. These include stop COVID with responsible individualism and allow liberty to mitigate the COVID impact on our citizenry. I want to stop the use of, to have women respected in sports, that they ought to have a sport that they can continue to strive in and win scholarships in, get advertisements for, and the like.
All right,
so, and quite a few other things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll start with the first question with you, Mr. Harris. As a lot of people don't realize it, but District 30 is made up of 14 cities, 8 school districts. It's very wide, it's very diverse.
Yes, sir.
The first question I have is, how do you plan to communicate and connect this diverse and dispersed population as a sitting congressperson? Now, right now, a lot of people who are in District 30 don't know who else is in District 30. So how would you plan to gain power by making there some connectivity there?
Well, because I've lived in this district all of my life, all the way from, I have friends in the Elm Thicket, the North Park area, Lovefield area, all the way down through what we used to call Old Short, North Dallas. I have great relationships with the Eastfield College community. I got planned to be able to use the internet and to communicate with many diverse communities. I always have a local office that's available to them, so I will be using every means that I can in order to interact with the different school districts, police departments, or whatever I need to do in order to get the goals that I want to accomplish in place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question for you as well, Ms. Langford. You good with that? Go ahead.
Sure, thank you very much for that. For me, children are our key. We need to advocate for them, and so as an educator for over 20 years, I'm so passionate about the opportunities that we can avail for them, and I will definitely make sure that I keep an open door and a consortium of sorts so that we can make sure that our needs are met within the districts. You are absolutely right. With the diverse cities that we have, the needs are different, and we have to be able to accommodate those needs. Cedar Hill doesn't have the same needs as Balk Springs. We need to make sure we're going in with a listening ear to find out what is needed to better serve our children. Our children deserve an exemplary education, and I'm here to give it to them. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Hamilton.
I agree. I do think that we have to think about this district and just the diversity of this district. And so the first thing that I would do is I would hire staff that reflects the district and reflects the different areas in the district. That's number one. I would also make sure that as your next member of Congress, that I am communicating and making sure that the constituents understand that the office is open and is accessible to them. One of the things that I did, and I'm very proud of as serving as a chief of staff to Congressman Vesey, is we implemented something called mobile office hours. And I would absolutely do that. And what that is the office comes to you. So we would look for a nearby library and we would have office hours so that people could just come down the street. Or we would have office hours at a local small business. Or we would have office hours at a rec center. And I just think the concept of that is something that really resonated with the community, and it was definitely helpful to us.
Okay, thank you. Judge, Councilwoman Hill. I want to get all the titles right now. They're earned.
Thank you. I would communicate with and connect District 30 in the same way that I did with my council district. Clearly, District 30 is much, much bigger, but the technique is the same. I start, and I have already started, by riding the district. That means get in my car, go to the neighborhood, talk to anybody I see outside, stop at the places where people gather and say, hey y'all, what's up? How y'all doing? That is the best way to get to know people and to unify the district. Go where they are. I reiterate, I have already started doing that. In addition to that, as I did with the council, I would hold town hall meetings. In COVID time, some of those would have to be virtual. On the council, I held all of my town hall meetings, and there were numerous ones in person, because I want to see the people. I want to touch them. I want to look in their eyes. I want them to look in mine. Some of that would have to be virtual. I would, of course, send out newsletters, as I did, and again, I would have a policy of come and talk to me, or call me and I'll come and talk to you. Anyone who contacted my council office, and it would be the same policy in my congressional office, could expect a response within 24 hours. That did not mean I would have solved the problem, but either I or someone on my staff would get back to you.
Representative Crockett.
Thank you. I would start by reaching out to the leaders. I'm proud to have the support of elected officials in almost every single city within District 30. I think that it starts not only with the elected leaders, but also those community leaders. Y'all know who to go talk to in Oak Cliff or PG or South Dallas. And so I definitely have already started building those relationships as a state representative with some of those, because there's overlap. But more importantly, one of the things that doesn't come as a requisite when you're running for any legislative office is this idea of community. I think that when you're looking at a historically African-American seat, that we have to focus on community. And so I think it's important that we bring community together. And so some of the things that we've already started doing is we had a kids and kites deal where we brought kids all over the district together. It was really an opportunity for young children to interact with law enforcement in a positive way. Because I believe in criminal justice reform, I believe in police reform, but I know that me writing a bill isn't gonna just get it done. I know that there are multiple pieces to the puzzle. And so I think that an effective legislator understands that, and they try to connect the pieces that aren't necessarily on the list of things that we're supposed to do, which is writing laws. So we did Kids and Kites, we did a fishing festival. We also want to make sure that we're reaching out and we're helping our community as it relates to COVID-19, as it was already brought up. We vaccinated more people, approximately 1,000 people, than any other House rep that I know of in the state of Texas. So sometimes it's a matter of kind of just getting in there and making sure you're bringing the community together in those creative ways.
Thank you. Okay, on to our next question. And we'll start again with Representative Crockett. We're going back the other way now. This is a question you'll probably appreciate. Unlike most other elected local positions, Congress is a seniority system. What experience do you have going into Congress, knowing that you are starting as a freshman? What connections or relationships do you have to be effective in Washington?
Absolutely. So, yes, it's all about seniority. I'll be honest and tell you that when the Congresswoman called me and asked me about running for this seat, one of the things that she said is that she was looking for someone who was young. And she said, and that's because we need someone who has enough time to get to senior status. And so it was a big deal for her. And so being in a senior position puts you in position to potentially become a chairperson, which is what the Congresswoman currently serves as a chairwoman. You end up with a lot more influence in general, especially over things like appropriations. As it relates to the relationships that I already have, obviously, if you saw the Texas Democrats, y'all know that we stayed up there for a little bit. It became a second home for us. And so we were up there probably for a little over a month. And so there are a number of members of Congress, and actually on both sides of the aisle. My House district has 4 Congresspeople. Talk about gerrymandering. I know, right? So my House district has 4 members. One of them is a Republican. So in redistricting, I thought it was important to reach out to all members. It didn't matter if you were a Democrat or a Republican. I needed to know what it was that you were trying to do for our shared constituency to make sure that those lines would hopefully not disproportionately in a negative way affect any of our shared constituents. And so there are even those on the other side of the aisle that I do know and I already have relationships with. But I'll tell you what's most important to me. Most important to me is having a relationship with those in the district, because it's hard for you to represent people if you fail to get to know them. And so when I'm advocating so many miles away, it's important that I know what it is that matters most, not just to the single mom, but to my small business owners, to my minority business owners, especially as we have this infrastructure money coming down. I've got to make sure that I take care of home.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Judge Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent.
Doctor, excuse me, I forgot doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Congress is a seniority system. However, as has become abundantly clear in the age of COVID, youth is no longer a guarantor of longevity. It never has been. The seniority system would put me as a very old freshman. I'm good with that, because I am experienced in interacting with elected officials, having been one for a long time. Who would I go to? The local elected officials that I worked with for the 8 years that I was on the council. I know practically all of the council people, the mayors. I know them. I've worked with them. I would also go to the people that I know in Washington, because as a councilwoman, I spent considerable time in Washington bringing resources to Dallas, and that meant interacting with the Congress people. They know me, I know them. I know how to sit across from them and let them know that I want the money and the resources to come to Dallas. I did it. That's how we got the $90 million for the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge. I sat across from the Texas delegation, including the Republicans, and said, I want the money to come to Dallas. Can you help me? And I know the lawmakers in Austin, because again, I interacted with them. I had to. As the legislative chair, I went to them. I looked them in the eye. Representative Crockett was not there while I was on the council, but many of them were there. They're still there. They know me. That's how I would operate and navigate.
Next up, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you. This is a very important question. When I served as Chief of Staff to Congressman Vesey, he was what is called a freshman member of Congress. And that comes with challenges, right? Because as the question basically lays out, in life it is about relationships. And so what I did is I made sure that those chiefs of staff that I knew and that I know and have relationships with from working on the House Rules Committee, I reached out to them and I said, hey, you know, can Congressman Vesey set up an appointment with your member? For those who are on the Democratic side, I did the same thing. And the beauty of it is that I can go to the Hill, and on day one, I can call upon my friends. I can call upon Congressman Mark Vesey, who has endorsed me. I can call upon Colin Allred. I can call the U.S. House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, who I know very well. And guess what? If he doesn't answer the phone, I'm gonna call his Chief of Staff, Yebby. So the point is I am going to exhaust my relationships for the benefit of Congressional District 30, because that's what it's all about. We have to push on our friends, we've got to push on our friends' friends, and we've got to do everything that we can to pass legislation for our district. Because when you're in DC, you only one of 435. And one of 435 can't get nothing passed on your own. And so I would definitely make sure that as soon as I got there, I checked in with members of Congress, I checked in with their staff, I would connect my chiefs of staff with their staff as well, because the truth is a lot of this work gets done by the staff, by professional staff, and it takes a lot of time. And so I can't agree more that those relationships are important, and I am so proud to say that I have those relationships, and I'm prepared to use them on day one. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Langford.
Do you mind repeating the question, please?
Okay, let me go back. So unlike most elected local positions, Congress is a seniority system. What experience do you have going into Congress knowing that you're starting as a freshman? What connections or relationships do you think would be effective in Washington?
So as a counselor and educator and empower, I would go in with the desire to make and build healthy relationships, which is our mantra with our organization. The community is so very important to me. I love Dallas. I did not just move here to become a representative. I am here because I was born here, raised here, taught here, raised my children here. It's so passionate for me. And on all those levels, I've worked with and admired Maxine Waters, Shirley Jackson Lee, the trailblazers that came through and made sure that we have the rights that we enjoy today, honored by John Lewis and determined to get his Voting Rights Act passed. But I'm passionate on that level, but I also want the community to know that it is so important that we have the connection to community. If you're not doing all the things you're talking about right now, please don't say it, because it misleads the public in knowing who is actually here for them. We have millions of dollars sent to us from the state and the federal level, but the communities of despair don't see them. My job as a recipient, a product of District 30, my first campaign I ever worked was with Miss Eddie Bernice Johnson at 14. I'm determined to get those funds to the people that need them. And so not only will I advocate and build bridges with people to help make sure that happens, but I will make sure and ensure that our communities are better for our children that are to come. In my community, where I was born, where I worked, where I serve as school board trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Harris.
Again, I respect these people up here on the platform, and I think they really do mean well. I would just like to also say that with respect to what I will be doing, it's going to be significantly different from what's been going on in the past. I do have experience as a parliamentarian, like I said, as the chairman of the Martin Luther King Family Clinic. That clinic, we started on Martin Luther King, and it still continues to thrive even to this day. It was the first clinic outside of Parkland back in the late 70s that people could attend. And I had to deal with philanthropists on my board. I had to deal with community leaders on the board. I had to deal with all various amount of people. I had to deal with people at HHS who was monitoring and trying to decide whether they're going to fund this program or not. So I've been engulfed in a variety of different people and factions to get things done. But that's neither here nor there. My thing is that we need to move away from what we've been doing in the past. Because what we've been doing in the past, Dr. George Frazier says that we are going into our second slavery if we don't do something different. When you go outside, you'll see a banner 16x4 banner says, stopping the perversion of America. That should have been, but they talked me out of it because I'm running as a Republican. It should have been stopping the niggerization of America.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sorry. Not in the church, sir. Please.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So here, let's change up a little bit because what I want to do a couple of things. Let me give some instructions before I do what I want to do. Before you all leave and we bring the other panel up, I'm going to ask, if you can, to stay through their answers. I've been a candidate before. I know you got things to do. But if you can stay, please stay. The second thing I will ask you is when you finish, if you would just remove the canopy from your microphone and take it with you. This last round, if you don't mind, Mr. Timer, I'd like to do just 1 minute. And all I want to know is I want to know the top 3 priorities you have. That's it. 30 seconds to a minute. And we'll start with Mr. Harris. 1 minute? Okay, 1 minute.
My top 3 priorities at this particular time would be to continue to open up the economy. I think that's a key for us. I believe in better schools and school choice for our young people. I think that they should not be relegated to just going to inferior schools in the neighborhood. And again, I'm not for giving illegals $450,000, so I'm for putting up a border wall or doing whatever we can. You turning that money that we can give to them around to assisting seniors with Medicare and Social Security benefits. And our key thing is restoring women in sports. They ought to have a right to their sport, and that they ought to have a right to the advertisement that comes from winning. They ought to have rights to scholarships so they can go to college instead of some man going in and taking over their sports, which disrespects the women. If you look around on that board up there, you'll see that everybody in here are women.
Okay, your time is up. Thanks. Next, Dr. Langford.
Yes,
3
sir.
priorities, 3 top.
The community is my top priority.
Okay.
Medicare, Voting Rights Act, and when I say community, it's Build Back Better, jobs, opportunities, but we want to make sure it gets to the people. So many, I'm devastated at how much money is sent to our area, but does not make it to the communities that need it. And that is my priority. That's my commitment. You will see change. It doesn't require a law at this point. I can go in that office because I will have a district office that will be functioning to serve our community, accessible and available. I can't run anywhere else. This is home for me if it don't work out. I'm committed to you.
Okay. Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you. The first thing that I would do is I would request to be placed on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee because we do have $27 billion coming to the state of Texas. That's a lot of money on the line. I want to be able to watch it. Number 2, I would join the Voting Rights Caucus. As a chief of staff, I was the lead on forming the Voting Rights Caucus, and we need it now more today than we have in a long while. And finally, I would ensure that the constituents actually know that they're in District 30. A lot of people don't realize what congressional district that they're in, and we take that for granted, and we should not. And secondly, and most importantly, I would make sure that the constituents understand that their tax dollars are paying for the services of a federal offices and that I work for them.
All right. Judge Councilwoman Dr. Hill, please.
My top 3 priorities: voting rights, jobs, education. Closely following, even though he said 3, there are 2 others that closely follow: transportation infrastructure and health care. We must not allow our voting rights to be taken. Whatever we have to do, if we have to again take to the streets, we've got to work so that we can have good homes, send our children to good schools, and our children have to be educated. As I said earlier, transportation is my wheelhouse. Look at the bridges, look at the streetcars, and health care. We must have equitable health care. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Representative Crockett.
As we sit here today, this is my first time in my home church in probably 2 years, and that's because of COVID-19. And so COVID-19 has to be number one. It has led to record inflation because we are having so many issues. It has led to record homelessness. It has led to record deaths. So it has to be number one for me. Behind that, I'm going to say voting rights, because we don't get anything if we don't get voting rights. We don't get the health care we need, the schools we need. We don't get the elected officials we need. And then finally, I'm going to say the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan one that already has money coming down. Because what we see a lot of times when this type of money comes down is that somebody from somewhere else comes in, takes all the money for the project, and they leave. And we need to make sure that we are stimulating our local economy. That is exactly why I'm working with locally elected officials now, because that is something that is presently working, and that is something that is going to help us keep our crime down. That is something that's going to help people stay in their homes and keep their jobs.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to ask you to do two things. First of all, I want you to keep these candidates and all the others we'll see in prayer. It's real easy. This is going to be a very contentious race. When all of this is said and done, I want everybody to still be speaking to each other. But I've been there before. I've been there. I've got some people that don't speak to me today. So we need to send up a prayer, because all of them have the right thing in mind. All of them want to represent this district. Then the other thing is, I want you to give them a hand clap and thank them for their time here today. If you will, again, take your canopy with you, and then we're going to have somebody come in sanitize, and I'm going to call the next group. And if you can, please stay. You might want to. They might say something you want to steal.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Jay Frank, I didn't know that was you.
Yeah, man. How you doing? Good minute, man.
Yes.
First things first, you need to be registered to be able to vote. You can register to vote in Texas if you are 17 years and 10 months old, you are a U.S. citizen, you reside in Texas, and you are not a convicted felon, unless you are off papers and off parole. To check if you're already registered, just go to votetexas.gov, click Am I Registered? And follow the prompts. If your status is active and your address is correct, you're done. If you are not registered, go to registertovote.org and follow the instructions. Be sure to have your social security number or driver's license handy. And if you don't have a license, a state ID will work too. Once you submit your registration form online, registertovote.org will print and mail it to you. All you need to do is sign it, place it in the addressed envelope, and put it in the mail. You won't even need a printer or a stamp. If you have any questions, contact the League of Women Voters at LWV-Texas at lwvtexas.org.
Thank you for your attention so far. I do want to make sure that I want to call the names that I missed before, because in the candidate that was not a part of the first one, I'd like for you to get ready to come up. We call for Kelvin Goodwin Castillo, Elizabeth Diaz, Arthur Dixon, DeKenya Jefferson, Councilwoman Caraway. I saw her a moment ago, didn't I? Okay. Zachariah Manning, Jessica Mason, Abel Mulugeta, am I right about that? Okay. And Roy Williams. Yeah, if you'll just sit in the first one, I think you were first. Can I sit? Yes, please, yeah. Okay. Now, what about Miss Caraway? Is she? Okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. She can always join us later. I don't want to hold us up since we're on live and we got public waiting for us. Good evening to each one of you. Thank you for being with us. I'm sorry you couldn't all be on the same panel, but I'm sure as a group this big, you know how that goes. We're going to start off by giving you 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your platform, what your goals and objectives are as the candidate for District 30. So if we'll start with you, Ms. Diaz.
Thank you.
Ms. Diaz?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here at your church. It is an honor. God bless you. And my name is Lizbeth Diaz. I am running for Texas Congressional District 30 because I grew up in this district. I am a product of my district and my community. First of all, I went to Bowd Story Middle School. I went to South Oak Cliff High School, and I also went to Duncanville High School. I graduated from Dallas Baptist University in 2016, and I have volunteered a lot in my community, especially with the seniors and the young people in my church, which is a few minutes from here as well. Jesus is My Refuge Church in Oak Cliff. I have volunteered with political candidates in their campaigns as well. I have helped them get to their positions where they are now. State Representative Victoria Neave, I have helped her in her campaign, and volunteered with City Council as well. So I would now love to give back to my community where I was raised, where I grew up.
All right, thank you. You will notice that there are a couple of timekeepers down there. The white one's 30 seconds. The red one is 10 seconds. And then after that, I just start talking over you, so it doesn't really matter what you say, but anyway, okay. So next we have Ms. Councilwoman Caraway.
Thank you. I'm Barbara Mallory Caraway. You know me. You know me because I served on the Dallas City Council. You know me because I served in the Texas House of Representatives. You know me because I was on the radio with Brother Joe Bagby for many years. I have a body of work that can be examined, dissected, and opinioned throughout the last 10 years. I'm asking you for your vote to send someone who is committed, dedicated, informed, and I will not need someone to tell me where the bathroom is on day one. I have the experience, I have the dedication. I am asking for your vote to send an independent, democratic problem solver to Washington. We have many issues. Those issues have to do with the economy, the planet, education, and crime that's raging our community. I want to be your representative. I have been on the ballot for many years. I think that shows my dedication, my commitment, and my willingness to put myself on the line. On March the 1st, vote Barbara Mallory Caraway, because you know Barbara. You know that I have always put the community first, against and above self-interest. I will represent you and your interests. Vote Barbara on March the 1st.
All right, thank you. All right. Next we have Mr. Zachariah? How do you?
Zachariah.
Zachariah. That was my grandfather's name. I don't want to mess it up. Okay. Zachariah Manning.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the individuals that have taken their Sunday to volunteer to work this forum. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up to listen to me and the other candidates. These other candidates are all great people. I know most of them. But I think, God put me in this position for a reason to run for U.S. Congress. Again, my name is Zachariah Manning. I was born and raised in District 30. Went to Roosevelt High School, graduated from there. Go Mustangs. My mom and dad has been business owners all my life. I have been a business owner for 34 years. I may look young, I may not look old enough to be a business owner for 34 years, but I have been. Politics is business. Politics is business. 34 years of experience is what I'm going to bring to the table to represent community first. Let me say that again, community first. So when I bring this wealth of experience with running businesses as community first, you are my employers. I work for you. That's what I'm going to do in District 30 is work for you, work hard night and day to get things accomplished in District 30. I've been a worker all my life, working smart, I'm a lifelong Democrat running as an independent. I will be on your November general election ballot.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ms. Jessica Mason.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank y'all for putting on this event. It's one of the first that I've seen for Texas 30 ever. Again, my name is Jessica Mason. I am a Navy veteran. I work in affordable housing communities, but most importantly, I am a daughter of Dallas. I was born and raised in South Dallas by a mother who was paid wages so low that she could not keep the lights on. Growing up, I had severe asthma, so she would have to carry me down the street in the middle of the night to the fire station just to power on my nebulizer. We are in a time where politicians and corporations are placing profit and wealth over the lives of us and the people in our community. I have not only lived the experiences and the struggles of the people in Texas 30, but I've spent my career advocating for those most in need. In the Navy, I served as a mental health professional, counseling service members ailing from the mental tolls of war, sexual abuse, and substance abuse. When I returned back home to Dallas, I began working in affordable housing communities, providing life-sustaining resources to those most in need. I am running to be the first Black woman veteran elected to Congress. I am running to empower those who have been left behind in my community for so long. And I'm asking you all to join me in making history.
Thank you. Okay, let's go into the first question, and I'm going to, for you out there, it's going to sound like the same thing, but it's the same thing. District 30 is made up of 14 cities and 8 school districts, and I would remind you that that's 14 cities, and they all have their own home rule. They all have their own charter. They're all different. You got 8 school districts, but you've got other schools out there that aren't part of those school districts. And it stretches from one end of I-20 to another and then past I-30. How do you plan to communicate with and connect this diverse and dispersed population as a sitting congressperson? How do you set up an outreach, and how do you get those people together to feel as one community? We'll start with Ms. Mason.
Thank you for that question. I think it's very important for us to engage everyone in the political process. And a lot of candidates, they raise, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and instead of spending that to hire staff to go out into the communities, they just keep it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire people to go door to door, knocking in each community. I think that we have to take a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down approach. I think that a lot of people in the community, there are people in the community that don't go to church or may not know who their leaders are. So that's why it's important that we meet people where they are on the ground. That's how I would approach outreach to each of the districts and counties within Dallas.
Okay, Mr. Manning.
Yes, thank you for the question. First and foremost, I'm triple vaccinated. So I respect people that don't want to get vaccinated. I have a 30-year-old daughter that doesn't want to get vaccinated, but I choose to do so. So I will be in person and monthly, I will have a Zoom or virtual call at the same time. So with me being in person and via Zoom, that's one way I'm going to communicate. But don't get it twisted. These 14-size shoes are made for walking. I'm going to walk my district. I'm going to shake hands if you so choose to do so. So I'm going to be in the district. I'm a stepper as far as walking and talking. I love meeting people. I love talking to them. And my 3 other younger kids will tell you all the time, you know, Daddy talks too much. He needs to come on, let's go. So I will sit and talk, and I will get to know each and every one of you that give me the opportunity, because I believe that's how we're going to get things resolved within the district, is by y'all sharing with me face to face what's going on, because I want to look you eyeball to eyeball so you know that I'm going to be working for you to get those issues resolved. And one thing that I am going to do is set up the best team possible. And I'm going to call this team my first response, my quick response team, because most questions that you have in the district can be sent to the appropriate departments that can get things done that would be out of my control.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Mallory?
I'm not
Caraway.
a novice at dealing with diverse, not only population and ethnicity, but also in terms of geographical, because my city council district expanded from 635 all the way down to Loop 12 and part of West Dallas, as well as my Texas House district. And the thing I have a track record of doing is appointing an advisory committee that is made up of different areas of the district. And what I implicitly will do is to not only have an office that is centrally located to the district, that is easily accessible through mass transportation and mobilization, but also have a satellite office to make it easier for people to come and be represented. That is what I will do. That is what I have done. In addition to that, engage with our youth community, and I am the orchestrator of the Dallas Youth Commission, and get our young people involved so that they will understand how government works with them, prepare them for the future, as well as making sure that their voice is heard. Barbara Mallory Caraway, that says that I am an independent problem solver. How will I do that? Problem solved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Diaz?
Thank you. And first and foremost, I believe that education is powerful, and education is a tool that we can use as a community to unite together everyone, not just bring in division, but we need to bring a change in our education. I believe the best way to do that is promoting education for our children, the proper education. So I believe there needs to be a reform in our education system where we can have our newsletters that will be sent to every family promoting education. So that is the first fundamental thing, is our education, promoting that.
All right. All right, next question, thank you. And we'll start again with you, Ms. Diaz. The next question is, unlike most other elected local positions, Congress is a seniority system. What experience do you have going into Congress knowing that you're starting as a freshman? What connections or relationships do you think it takes to be effective in Washington?
Well, the experience that I have in Congress or in this position, first of all, is as a volunteer and serving my community. That's the first thing, is knowing who is in your community, knowing how your community is shaped. So I grew up here in South Dallas. I know many people from South Dallas, not just Hispanics, but all kinds of people. I know city council members. I know state representatives. I've worked with them. I volunteer for their campaigns. And I believe we need to all work together. This is a crucial time. This year is a crucial year, especially 2022, because we see a lot of division, a lot of hate. Now is the time we need to work together, and we don't need to create more division. So that's the thing about me. I don't see political parties. I don't see that. I see humans, humanity. So that's what we need now is connections. And that's what I plan on bringing.
All right, thank you. All right, excuse me, Congresswoman, Councilwoman Mallory Caraway.
Texas rep. You know what? I'm not going to Congress to see how long I can stay, how many years I can serve, just to get a chairmanship. Because the other misnomer about that question is that you're assuming that you can just decide where you're going to go. The Speaker of the House makes those appointments. The Speaker of the House makes those appointments. I am going to be not just having a seat at the table, but a voice for the people that I represent. And so when I go to Congress, I'm going to work tirelessly day after day, hour after hour. I am not going for personal gain, which what that question implies. I am going to work on behalf of the people, and that is what I'm going to do. I also believe that as we move forward in this race, that we must be aware of what the people want, not what I want personally. This is not my first time running for this seat. I think that shows a commitment, dedication, and the willingness to put myself on the line for the longevity. I'm not going to Congress to stay 40 or 30 years. I'm going to serve the people and to make sure that however long that I am there, that I will be their voice. Barbara is a problem solver. Barbara has always put the people first, and Barbara will continue to put the people first. On March the 1st, elect an independent. I don't have any type of ties to special interests. I'm not running on all the endorsements that I have because I have a body of work that speaks for itself. Barbara will get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manning.
Yes. I'd like to first say thank you to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. Thank you for the great foundation, the solid foundation that you've laid. As an independent candidate, not on your March primary ballot, but that's going to be on your November 8th ballot. So what I'm going to bring is my 34 years of business experience. What I'm going to bring is my community first attitude with respect to District 30. What I'm going to bring is knowing and realizing that I work for y'all in District 30. What I'm going to bring as an independent candidate is the ability to stop the gridlock that's going on in Congress. Because who's suffering behind that gridlock? Democrats versus Republicans? We are. That's what I'm going to bring, because I'm not married to any of them. So by me running as an independent, that's going to immediately get both sides' attention, Republicans and Democrats. Guess what Eddie Bernice Johnson said at her retirement announcement? She had to go many times and work across the aisle with respect to the Republicans. I'm going to work with both sides, being not married to any of them, to get what we need accomplished in District 30. Tell 12 people about me to help me get elected. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Mason. Excuse me, Ms. Mason, what was your rank in the Navy?
I was a petty officer.
Okay, then I need to start calling you officer. Officer. Okay, all right, Ms. Mason, go ahead.
So over the past year, since I announced in January 2021, I have been working with several military organizations who have successfully gotten members of the military elected to Congress over the past decade. And they have been willing to help me navigate the landscape as we speak. And I will continue to build on those relationships and then also build on the relationships here in the community that will help me best serve this district.
Okay, that's it. All right, we're down to the last question, and this is real simple. This is a 1-minute call. And the question is, please share your top 3 priorities once you arrive in Washington, D.C. Ms. Mason.
Working in affordable housing communities, I've had the opportunity to assess the needs. And talking to people every single day, there are 3 things that people in District 30 are worried about. The first is healthcare. We rank last in access for healthcare in the state of Texas. So I am a big proponent for passing single-payer healthcare, Medicare for all, or some type of universal healthcare system. Second is, of course, housing. We have 19 affordable housing communities for every 100 people that need one. So I think that we need to invest heavily in our public housing infrastructure. And then third is work. We have high unemployment in this district, and a lot of people are employed but are just not making enough to make ends meet. So I am a big supporter of unions. I think that we need to unionize every workplace so people are getting paid a fair wage and have adequate benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Manning.
Yes, thank you. My slogan is common sense, common ground. Common sense, common ground. So my top 3 priorities, not in any particular order, because within my first 100 days, I'm going to propose several bills that's going to address our community. So one being, how do we stop the gridlock? Okay, if a bill is proposed, say for instance the infrastructure bill, if it's proposed and you as a congressperson does not vote for that bill, the rest of y'all candidates don't steal this, but here it goes. If you don't vote for that bill, then your district does not receive the funding if it passes. So guess what that's going to do? That's going to allow stopping gridlock in Congress. That's one way we're going to do that.
All right.
Thank you.
My issues really have to do with the economy by instituting and voting and introducing bills that deal with tax policies, not only that would equalize the playing field, but also creating green jobs. Looking at our planet, we are in a climate change catastrophe, looking at how we're going to deal with education. Someone mentioned the CRT, so we must look at appointing and supporting individuals with the Department of Education that will have a progressive approach to education, and we need to deal with the crime issues and to make sure that our young people have an opportunity to take advantage of a more healthy environment and really deal with this gun violence that is plaguing our communities, our neighborhoods across the nation. Those are the issues that I will deal with and have dealt with. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Diaz, you get the last word.
Thank you. And first of all, I would like to focus, when I get into Congress, I would like to focus on education, because education is the foundation for a healthier society. So we need our kids to have better quality education, and we will all do this together. How will we all do this together? Getting involved, getting our kids the tools they need and the schools they need to become everything they need to become. I am a product of South Dallas, so I believe that when you have the proper education and our teachers are getting paid well, but they're being respected, then a child can succeed and can become anything they want to become. So education is my top priority. and protecting our borders. We need border security. Yes, I believe in that because the ones that are suffering right now are people that are coming in illegally because there's no border security.
Okay.
So we do need to protect our borders.
Thanks. Let's give this panel a big hand. If you will remember to take your, and if you don't mind, you're free to have a seat. And I'm going to turn this over to the Honorable Valencia Nash, and she will go forthwith.
Thank you so much to all of you for your time today. Thank you, Vincent Hall, for moderating such a powerful and impactful forum here. And I want to make sure that I gave some acknowledgments to some of our partners today. Dallas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, along with Friendship West Baptist Church's Social Justice Ministry. We want to thank those that participated today. We did have a drive-by voters registration drive, and those individuals that helped us today were the National Panhellenic Council here in Dallas, the Poor People's Campaign, the League of Women Voters, and Dallas ISD High School. So let's give them a round of applause as well. We also want to thank, we had some tables today set up for some of our top races in Dallas County. So we want to thank the Dallas County DA candidates who did set up a table, Judge Cruzo, Judge Frizzell, and Judge Faith Johnson. We also had John Warren, who also had a table outside for county clerk. He's our current county clerk. And we also had Felicia Petrie running for district clerk, and she's our current district clerk, and also Amy Holland. So let's give them a round of applause. I also saw our mayor for the city of Lancaster, Mayor Clyde Harrison. Thank you for coming. And I don't want to miss any mayors. That's what happens when you start calling names. But did I see any other mayors in the audience? I also, Representative Retta Bowers had a table outside as well. Did I miss any of the others? Okay, I hope I did not. Also, did I see Mayor Mason in the audience? I thought I did. Okay, sorry. Did I miss anybody? Anybody? Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much for your attention, your time. Thank you for those in our Zoom Red Room, our VIPs, sorors today. Thank you for your attention and time. I'm going to turn it over to Minister Ayers for closing remarks. I know y'all trying to go home and see Cowboys, so.
So very quickly, thank you all again for coming out. Thank you so much, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, for partnering with Friendship West. And on behalf of our senior pastor, we certainly want to thank you for coming out, because we certainly at Friendship West believe that our faith and public life intersect, and it's so important for us to make sure that we are able to bring to our church and our community candidate forums, because it's so important for us not to just to go to the polls just to vote, and vote against our interests and not know it, but to know who's running, what their platform is, and it lines up with our own personal agenda and the vision that we have for our own families and our community. So on behalf of our senior pastor, Dr. Hanks, thank you so much for coming out, and now go enjoy the playoffs.